We are not podcast bros. We always rely on feedback from our listeners, never knowing where that may lead us.
Don't you think they should be giving us 5 stars whenever they listen to our podcast at the very least?
Oh, they've already given us a rating, Abu, putting us up in a second-class podcast studio. And we are responding.
Damn right, you're going to get a politely yet firmly worded email from us.
At some point.
If we remember, we might forget, actually.
Well, set a reminder right now. I'm going to set a reminder.
Welcome to Gom Jabbar, your guide to the iconic world of Dune. We'll be exploring the themes, philosophies, and characters found in the sandy depths of this vast universe, from Frank Herbert's groundbreaking novels to the adaptations on film and TV. My name's Abu.
My name is Leo.
And Leo, We're getting on this ship, and we're headed to Junction today because we're continuing our deep dive read-through.
Who's driving the ship, Abu?
Well, you'll have to wait to find out.
It's my favorite character. Yeah, we'll talk about that. Before we get into it, let's take care of our housekeeping. Let's make Shout Out Mapes proud. And as usual, today will contain no spoilers for the book club. So if you are caught up with the reading assigned thus far into Chapterhouse Dune, you are safe to listen to today's episode.
That's right. And of course, up top, a huge shout out to our Kwisatz Haderach level patrons. That's Daniel Dion. That's Seth Redden Greer. That's Brad Hutchins. That's Kevin Mohanram. And that's Roger Young.
Damn!
Folks, here's your next mission. We're going to load you onto 5 ships, okay?
Yeah.
We need you to take a bunch of Reverend Mothers to Junction, and then we need you to blow up the ships, but it's okay, because we're going to turn you into gholas right after.
Yeah. Let's list the gholas that have existed. You know, it's Hate, it's Duncan, Idaho a bunch of times. It's this bus driver.
That's right. Scytail.
It's Scytail, and now it's you. It's the Tleilaxu Masters, and it's you.
That's right. That's our way of saying thank you for supporting the show and truly helping us continue to do what we do. Of course, our heartfelt gratitude extends to all of our patrons at every level who build the foundation upon which this operation runs.
You know what? You all get a ship, but you do have to detonate it quickly because we're really trying to send a message here.
Quick. It's part of the plan.
Part of the plan. And listen, hey, if you can't become a monthly supporter, doesn't it sound great being a monthly supporter on Patreon? You get blown up. Don't forget that you can also support us with a one-time tip. That link is in our show notes. Also, really a wonderful way to keep our lights on and to keep the business going. We really appreciate it.
All right, housekeeping out of the way. Y'all know the drill. We will start today's episode with a summary of the assigned chapters. Then we'll dive deep into a takeaway, breaking down some big themes and ideas within these chapters. And finally, we will wrap up today's episode by chomping down on some delicious spice morsels. So before we get into all of that, let's take a quick break. Folks, don't go anywhere. The mission to Junction begins in just a minute.
Indeed it does. Welcome back, everybody. Oh, I hope you enjoyed your break. Kick off today's episode with a summary of Chapter 37. Now, in our first chapter today, the convocation begins. Ooh. Oh, get out your convocation merch, your hat on, your sweater on, your little pom-pom.
Big #1 foam finger.
Odrade. Now, all of the Bene Gesserit on Chapterhouse have gathered into this one sweaty, garlicky room to hear the grave pronouncements of the Mother Superior. It sounds absolutely disgusting. Now, the mood in the room is understandably tense as Odrade enters. It helps that her theme music was like blasting over the speakers.
Yeah.
And, you know, that makes sense. Like, I don't love an all-hands meeting at work. And especially when I haven't seen one on my calendar in like 1,500 years.
Yeah. It's cause for concern.
Yeah.
You're like, what's up? Why are we having an all hands? Does this mean layoffs?
Is this layoffs? 20% of the Bene Gesserit got laid off, but their stock prices have never been higher. So, you know.
Oh, so true. Shareholder value, baby.
Shareholder value. Odrade herself is feeling melancholic. Her thoughts are deeply sentimental and, as kind of always, very un-Bene Gesserit as she takes in the view of her fellow sisters all gathered.
Yeah.
Belanda steps up, takes the mic, gives some preemptory updates on Scytale and some other kind of useless matters. And when Odrade sees people's eyes glazing as their mouths fall open and audible snores start coming from the auditorium, she cuts her short. She takes the mic. She goes, okay, it's my turn to spit some rhymes. Odrade informs the room about the plan for her to meet with the Spider Queen on Junction, a meeting that she will not survive in all likelihood, which is like a crazy way to start the meeting.
Yeah.
Because of that, Odrade, the Reverend Mother Superior, will share with multiple sisters before leaving, specifically Sheeana and Murbella.
Whoa.
Which is crazy. This is a political gesture. Every Bene Gesserit in that room knows this is the Reverend Mother Superior saying, I think either Sheeana or Murbella should lead when I'm dead.
Wow.
Which is
huge.
Nuts.
Yeah.
Someone's like, why Murbella? She's like, who else knows the Honored Matre well? And everyone's like, that's
right.
A pretty good point.
Such a good point. Damn it. I got no rebuttal.
Fuck, no rebuttal. People are like, do we have a rebuttal? Do you have a rebuttal? I don't have a rebuttal. That's a great point. Damn. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, she then signals to Teg. Teg steps forward on the shoulders of Streggy and answers some military questions. Damn this piping voice, he thinks. He answers some military questions. Okay,
we're gonna nuke them from orbit.
Nuke them from orbit. And it's gonna be Willy impressive.
Okay.
And there are some concerns from the gathered sisters, but ultimately nobody objects because everyone can tell these are the best plans they have in this moment of extreme tension, this existential threat.
Totally.
Now, Odrade knows that basically the risky period of this meeting is over. The shit isn't going to super hit the fan once the room settles into this kind of expected murmur and kind of harmonious, rabble of the sisterhood.
Yeah.
Here's the quote, now they fitted their speech into a pattern much like plain song and yet not quite a chant. Voices moved and flowed together. Odrade always found this remarkable. No one directed the harmony. It happened because they were Bene Gesserit. Naturally. End quote. It's really beautiful. I have a really hard time picturing that. Is it just kind of the foley of their talking is very harmonious?
Yeah.
However it appears, Odrade has this heartbreaking thought as she observes the room and answers some additional questions. Quote, I will miss this. End quote.
Wow. Such sentimentality from the Mother Superior. I will miss this.
I think it really helped frame all of this immediately in this visceral lens of she is never going to see this again. And these are people she's never going to see again. Many of the people in the room she's going to have maybe a fleeting interaction with, but then she's gone and she's very likely going to die. And these are the people who she's been leading for a while now.
Yeah.
These are people she's known probably her whole life. And she understands that this is also kind of a goodbye.
Yeah.
The whole chapter really hit hard for me. I was thinking about Frank having lost Beverly and personally leaving the US and moving to France. There's a lot of resonance there for me. And I think that line of I will miss this is just hits that much harder because of all of that. But I think it does a good job of framing our energy and kind of our expectations of Odrade as a character now. Now, the convocation ends, they pop the champagne bottles or however it ends. And as the chapter wraps up, Odrade's resolve is solidified. The plans are in motion. The board is set and there is no more turning back at this point. If ever there was, it is gone and they are committed to the path. Her final thoughts in the chapter are nostalgic and reflective as she thinks about, quote, the places I will never go, the things I will never see, except as a reflection in the life of another. End quote.
Woo! Oh my gosh, Odrade.
Odrade. And also, I'm sure at this point, Frank grappling with his own mortality, right? I've had that thought where I travel and I see these great cities and great places. And you always think man, where have I not been? Where haven't I seen?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a perspective of an older writer.
Same. I also know how I'm going to be placing my poly market bets on whether Odrade makes it out of this book alive.
Yeah, get on call.
I think after this chapter, I know where I'm putting my money.
Yeah, she seems to be kind of tipping the scales a bit. But hey, listen, if you bet on her getting out alive, maybe you're going to come away a very wealthy person. You could buy a house on Tupil.
That's true. Sometimes betting against the odds,
That's the way to do it sometimes.
We don't advocate for betting. That shit is awful.
There goes those sponsorships.
Right. DraftKings is like, unsend that email we just sent them, those fuckers.
We were going to offer them
$1 million gazillion dollars, and now we're going to offer them a lawsuit.
Listen, DraftKings, if you offer us $1 million gazillion, we might rethink our position. Just kidding. Kind of.
Yeah, my bar is certainly at a gazillion for selling my soul. So, okay, chapter 38. Continuing with our summary. In this next chapter, we rejoin Rebecca and the rabbi, who are still in hiding on Gamu. We have not checked in with these two characters in quite some time in this book.
Yeah, it's true. I fully forgot they existed.
I know, for a second I was like, whoa, they're still here. This chapter, though, is really short. And honestly, not a lot actually happens. Most of the chapter is just a discussion between a grumpy rabbi who is arguing with an increasingly annoyed Rebecca as our boy and the true hero of this book, Joshua, fixes the HVAC system.
Dude, MVP.
MVP, Joshua.
Knows when to leave when it's getting awkward. Love Joshua.
Oh my gosh. Joshua's lines in this chapter made me crack up every single time.
He's great, yeah.
But regardless of the length of the chapter, I think we still have to give the rabbi credit where credit is due, because through all of his fear and insecurity, he does voice some pretty pointed questions about the Bene Gesserit Sisterhood that sound a lot like the existential questions that you and I have been asking on this podcast, and that the book is asking the reader, and that Odrade and Taraza have been asking about the Sisterhood. So I think it's worth hitting on some key points from their argument here between Rebecca and the rabbi.
Yeah.
So the dynamic between these two, I think, is interesting, because I think there's the text, and then there's a certain layer of subtext here that adds a lot of depth, I think. Rebecca, to me at least, comes off in this chapter as like a fully indoctrinated sister of the Bene Gesserit. She is unquestioningly accepting everything that her other memory is telling her. She says at one point, for example, quote, "I speak from the viewpoint of the sisterhood you made me help. What they do is often boring, repetitious, but not evil." End quote.
I think that's a fair and balanced point, to be fair. I mean, she's not condemning.
Right.
I mean, ultimately, like, that's kind of the stance we've taken. Sometimes they're wrong and they're taking way too much power into their grubby little hands, but that doesn't mean that they're like evil, doing evil shit for evil purposes,
Yeah, well, I think I have some gentle pushback on that, because
Sure.
This line made me think, well, you did assault a child in this book. So I don't know that we're calling it not evil. Your action's not evil.
That's a bad look for sure.
Generally I agree with you, right?
Yeah,
like Rebecca is learning about the sisterhood from her other memory and is digesting all of this much in the same way that Murbella is now that she has awakened. But Rebecca doesn't have that honored matre side where she can question it. Rebecca is just like taking it all at face value, whatever ChatGPT is spitting out, she's like, yep, got it. That is the way. And then she's repeating these things to the rabbi. And in an interesting way, the rabbi is kind of pushing back in ways that maybe more sisters should occasionally. In this conversation, the rabbi, of course, comes off as this like deeply insecure and closed-minded person. But again, I got to give him his flowers. I don't think his arguments against Rebecca are without merit. He asks at one point, quote, "Are these women self-deluded by dreams of their own importance?" End quote. And I was kind of like, yeah, Rebecca, are they? Answer the damn question.
Yeah.
I don't think you're necessarily supposed to be cheering for the rabbi here, but at the same time, I don't think you're necessarily supposed to be cheering for Rebecca either. She comes off as pretty haughty and arrogant about the knowledge that other memory has given her. She's not questioning any of it. From my read of it, this chapter is frank, perhaps showing us two what on the surface seem like opposing ideologies. You have the rabbi and his Jewish faith on one end, and then you have the Sisterhood and their other memory and their dogma and philosophies on Rebecca's end. They both kind of suffer from the same issue of a lack of introspection, a lack of asking questions about your own faith. The rabbi takes his faith blindly, and Rebecca is taking what she's learning from other memory blindly. And I think there's maybe a warning about going to either extreme.
Yeah, I think that's a good read.
Anyway, to wrap up the chapter, there's a final tidbit that I want to just call out, but then we're going to talk about it more in the takeaway, so we'll put a pin in it. This final tidbit is Rebecca responding to the rabbi asking if the Sisterhood believe in a power greater than themselves. And Rebecca responds, quote, "Their belief would not accord with ours, Rabbi, but I do not think it evil," end quote. And when the rabbi pushes her to explain that further, she continues, quote, "They call it the leveling drift. They see it genetically and as instinct. Brilliant parents are likely to have children closer to the average, for example," end quote. And that idea of leveling drift is incredibly fascinating, and we did a deeper dive into it for our takeaway today. So hang tight, we'll talk about that in just a bit. But that's chapter 38, folks.
Great. And that leads us into our final chapter today, chapter 39. And good Lord, buckle up.
Oh, boy.
This chapter went on for 6 chapters of length. It was so long. Things are finally happening. Now, specifically, final preparations are complete, and it is time for our elite strike team, Odrade, Tam, and the Touge, to make their fateful trip to Junction.
Let's go.
In the final days on Chapterhouse, Belanda is constantly hovering and pestering the Mother Superior, but Odrade sees right through Belle's bullshit. Quote, "We don't have many more days together, Belle, and that's what's eating you." End quote. Deeply humanizing. And thank you, Odrade, for giving Belle a redemptive moment, because I was also pissed off at Belle during this chapter. I was like, Belle, chill, dog. Good Lord. And to see that side of it, of to just, Belle knows that she's not going to see Odrade anymore.
It's sweet. Yeah.
That's really sweet. Again, it's the sort of the core of love that many Bene Gesserit are blind to. Belle doesn't fully recognize how much she loves Odrade, but she clearly does.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, good point. Yeah.
Now, we also learn from Odrade's frantic thoughts that she has shared with Murbella and Sheeana. It happened off page.
Whoa!
But we don't get any fucking insight into Sheeana's schemes. It's like, God damn it, Frank. Shit happening off page. And then also this like huge question we still don't get. Oh my God. But we do get a sense that Odrade is still kind of vaguely anxious. Quote, "I cannot follow into your wild place, Sheeana. My task is to produce order. I cannot risk what you have dared. There are different kinds of artistry. Yours repels me." End quote. Fascinating.
What could it mean?
What does that fucking mean? Is she a finger painter? Does she's like sculpting with human feces? Odrade's like, wow, that's crazy.
That repels me.
Repels me so much. Gross. You know, like, what does that fucking mean? But nothing to do about it now. Odrade says her final farewells and boards the no-ship along with her squad, along with Sweeple, her attendant, a kind of round-faced, efficient, good person who is also expendable.
Yeah.
And totally fine if she dies. Now, once they're on the no-ship, they've got some time to kill, and she spends her time reflecting on the ecological changes on Chapterhouse, you know, organizing everything she knows about the Honored Matre, really going into her memory palace to prepare herself, gather her energies for this battle to come. Because, of course, this is not going to be an easy meeting.
That's right.
Now, they ditched the no-ship just outside of where it would have been detected. I thought, again, this is really fun background world building where Frank says, you know, there are these fold space detective units or something that like tell you if people have folded space into your area. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Of course that makes sense. You know, you can't find the ships, but you can see that someone's like ringing the alarm bell. You can like see its echo. Yeah. I thought that was so cool. So they proceed onto a little flighter, this like small ship that was a smuggler vessel for a 19-hour flight, which really sounds like the worst. I mean, honestly, if you're going into like a really stressful meeting and it's like, don't worry, we've got a 19-hour drive ahead of us. That sucks, dude. Well, once the group gets in range of Junction, they start getting these kind of alarmed, messages from Planetary Station 4, identify yourself or we'll fucking blow you up. And the pilot then reveals their identity. And it turns out, ladies and gentlemen, it's the best character in Dune by such a margin. It's Clairby! It's
oh my God!
Clairby! It's cyborg! Cyborg him! It's him! The cyborg!
It's
capital
him.
H. God, I love
God.
Clairby. He's great. And he basically tells Odrade, oh yeah, you didn't know. Like, I that makes sense. You wouldn't have been told this because I know you like me. But he is going to take them to the planet and then sacrifice himself. But,
oh
quote,
my God, Clairby, no.
I know, but hey, hold on. Quote, waste no pity.
Okay, why?
I was dead, and this gave me life. And when I die this time,
say it ain't so.
That will buy me life as a ghola.
Quote. What is Clairby may never die?
Oh, we're going to have Clairby in every book from now on. I can't wait.
Oh my God. I'm almost certain Clairby was set up for the 7th book.
Dude.
You don't bring this guy back twice if you're not going to play that card again.
Main character Clairby. I swear to God, it's going to be Clairby and Duncan, Idaho as a buddy cop book was book 7 for sure.
Shit.
Oh, yeah. I remember when I first read this, I lost my fucking mind. I was like, if you list out the gholas we know that exist, it's all of these like interstellarly important characters and then a bus driver from Chapterhouse. And I was like, I think Clairby might be my favorite character. That's crazy.
I mean, Odrade has a thought somewhat along those lines too, right? She's like, oh my gosh, we're going to offer him the ghola. Are we opening up that doorway as well?
Yeah.
Now the Bene Gesserit have this Tleilaxu technology. Are we just going to start abusing it? Are we going to let that genie out of the bottle too? Now that we've let the cyborg genie out of the bottle, Clairby kind of is an omen of some dangerous potentials of the future.
Oh my God. You let the genie out of the bottle, you use your 3 wishes, then you kill the genie, bring him back as a ghola, 3 more wishes.
There we go.
Oh my God.
The infinite wish loop.
We cracked the code. All it took was axolotl tanks. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, they arrive on the planet and stepping off the ship, Odrade says to Clairby, by the way, blow up your ship pretty quickly because we really want to make a grand entrance. Don't wait too long.
Right.
Which, by the way, crazy part of the plan. We'll have to see how that plays out.
For real.
But then we get this sequence where basically she's taking in her surroundings. She's seeing the surface of Junction where the Honored Matre have fully set up base. And I got such major reporter visits North Korea vibes from this section, where it's like you see all the kids laughing and playing in the yard. And it turns out this was like a state, everyone's being forced to or whatever. Like, I feel like there's no, because of course she thinks to herself, look at those 2,000 young women playing sports in a field completely just coincidentally when we're arriving. Yeah. Bullshit. This is a show. For us.
It's all staged drama, right?
Yeah. The first thing I thought of was for visitors to Pyongyang, North Korea. It's like, oh yeah, it's parade Thursdays. We just always have fun parades and everyone gets free cotton candy. Everything's great here. What do you mean?
Yeah, it's fun here.
It's fun here. Everyone has fun. They have to. They're forced to. But more importantly than the obvious Honored Matre propaganda, very little has changed. The Spacing Guild planet is more or less unchanged. They added a tower here, a little adjustment there, but otherwise, everything's where they expect it to be, which is huge. She's able to transmit this with her little biotransmitter to Teg's team, telling them, hey, everything looks good. In fact, your intel about Junction is basically up to date. This is great.
Amazing.
Now, they arrive at this like hotel, this accommodation. All of this is so surreal because we think of them. I was thinking of them as like in their palace with their supplicants and all. It sounds like Disneyland. Like it just sounds like such a constructed experience. So they arrive at this like shitty 2-star hotel where the honored matre have apparently made accommodations for their stay. It's a motel on the side of the fucking field. And
right.
Of course they're delayed at check-in. So Odrade's like, okay, everyone, spread out. So incredible, the little line where everyone stood within striking distance of one another.
Yeah.
In case there was like a betrayer.
Like this was an ambush or something.
Yeah, and if there was a turncoat from among rank, everyone's kind of got like, okay, so I'll kick him in the neck if he fucks up. And okay, so we all have like someone we're covering. Fascinating.
That Bene Gesserit harmony.
That Bene Gesserit harmony, dude. And this is how on edge they are. They are like, we have not ruled out anything. We are looking relaxed, just kind of chatting with each other. Oh, look, sports. Oh, that's fun. But they are on the knife's edge right now. And they are being so careful. And Odrade, realizing that this is all, again, kind of a pony show? Horse and pony show? Whatever that idiom is. This is all, again, staged drama. Oh, no, you've been delayed at check-in. She decides this is the time to begin the negotiation. This is the time to actually begin her part of the plan. So she goes, hey, Sweeple, you seem like you need a lesson right now. And Sweeple's like, yes, I do. Lay it on me, teacher.
I've been burning for a lesson.
I've been burning for a lesson. Thank you. So she tells Sweeple about how bureaucracies don't adapt and thus never survive, kind of covering it all in this conversation about Ix, right? They see these ambassadors from Ix come to, beg for some additional power or something like that. And she makes the lesson about them. But of course, she's really talking about the honored matre. And she drops this bar, quote, creative anarchy is the way to survive in this universe, end quote. And for an ultimately autocratic, bureaucratic organization like the honored matre, this must sound fucking absurd. But keep in mind, Dama arranged for this meeting with hopes of getting Bene Gesserit science. We have to remember that that's her goal. So here's Odrade offering up some science on a silver platter that directly counteracts the honored matre way of doing things. It's fucking brilliant.
It's brilliant.
And of course, Sweeple is like playing her part to the T. And even Odrade goes, my God, she's ready for the spice agony. She's incredible. Sweeple is the coolest.
Right.
This is great.
It's so tragic. We're about to just sacrifice her on this mission.
Damn, her round face and her efficient manner wasted. Good Lord.
And that water fat ass absolutely wasted. A tragedy.
Dump truck driven off the cliff. My God. We tried to be stealthy, but the clap of her cheeks. No, wait, that's Solid Snake. That's a meme from the internet. Anyway. Yeah. That's something that Frank didn't include, is that Sweeple is like carrying an absolute caboose on her. She is just.
That's true, yeah. That's headcanon.
It's my headcanon. It's like totally unnecessary. Anyway, the chapter ends as Tamerlane approaches Odrade, stepping wide around Sweeple's massive derriere. Just to kind of like edge around the giant posterior of Sweeple. And she goes, and she goes, hey, Odrade, hey, isn't something going to happen? Like, man, I'm bored. It's been time, it's been 20 minutes since anything happened. And Odrade comments, listen, the negotiation, Tamerlane, has already begun. And in fact, they've sent their message and I just sent mine. And
yeah, hell yeah.
The battle of wits, the battle of bureaucracy against creative anarchy, heretics versus ultimate dogmatists is beginning.
Yeah, this marks the beginning of the Battle of Junction. This is the first volley. The first bullet has been shot.
So characteristic of Frank's writings that the first bullet, the first volley, the first attack, the first like spear thrust of this offensive is words and politics. Like,
that's right.
What a Dune moment right? This is not lasers
Absolutely.
shooting, and this is the final, the final countdown as the song goes. Ba-da-da-ba. This is like politics and philosophy, and this is the beginning. That's so cool. I love it.
All right, folks. Those are the chapter summaries. That was the assigned reading for today. Really good stuff. 3 really excellent chapters, and we're in the end game now. This is it. We're nearing the end of Chapterhouse Dune, and all that's left is the most dangerous mission, perhaps, that Mother Superior Odrade has ever gone on in her life. Let's take another quick break. But folks, don't go anywhere. When we come back, we're getting into our takeaway to dive a little bit deeper into the idea of leveling drift. We'll see you in a minute.
Welcome back, everybody. Oh, I hope you enjoyed your break. Let's talk about leveling drift. A really interesting belief that Rebecca tells the rabbi in today's reading, and kind of a new concept for us about the Bene Gesserit worldview that we've not heard about before, which, again, in the 11th hour, Frank, really telling us new things about one of the most important orders in your whole book series. But yeah, let's talk about it. Let's talk about leveling drift. And starting very basically, what is the belief? Well, Rebecca explains, quote, they call it the leveling drift. They see it genetically and as instinct. Brilliant parents are likely to have children closer to the average, for example, end quote. Which really just sounds like maybe Frank was disappointed in his kids. He's like, yo, me and Beverly are brilliant and our kids are fucking middle of the bell curve. That is disappointing. But what Rebecca seems to be getting at is that the Bene Gesserit believe that human societies tend to equalize over time. Extreme differences, whether in power or wealth, technology or culture, gradually, slowly but surely, flatten out. Given enough time, disparities drift toward equilibrium. Or at least that's the belief that the Bene Gesserit has.
Right.
She even explains that this is why the Bene Gesserit never seek direct power, because taking the reins makes you one of those targets that might then be kind of sanded off of the edges of humanity. It's safer toward the kind of mean. It's safer toward the middle, even if it's kind of you're pretending, or even if you're really kind of nestling yourself within that average.
It's easier to hide in the center of that bell curve where everyone else is than to stand out at either extreme,
Right. Recall again, Jessica using the voice on Thufir Hawat, and Thufir Hawat going, what the fuck? You can do that?
Yeah.
The extreme of human capability. And Jessica goes, yeah, use your fucking brain, dog. We can't show people we have this. We would be leveled out. Yeah, that was a direct quote. The tone of the first book was really different than the later books, but use your fucking brain, dog, is a direct quote from Jessica Harkonnen. So she tells him, right, use your fucking brain, dog. If we do that, we'll be fucking leveling drifted, man.
That's true.
Tokyo leveling drift.
That's true.
And Thufir is like, that's rad, bro. True. Mentat computation facts. But of course, like glib tone aside, that was a moment where Jessica explained, if you map out the bell curve of human capabilities, we are way further out there than you think as a galactic mentat. And there is a reason for that, because we don't want to be, equalized. We don't want to be succumb to this power, right?
Right. We push people too far, we reveal too much about ourselves, and we risk the possibility of people turning against us and thus being eradicated, being sanded down back toward that center average, essentially. Now, naturally, after Rebecca explains all of this, the rabbi has questions, right? He's got follow-ups. He asks, for example, whether the Bene Gesserit believe in a quote-unquote drift maker, aka God, as the rabbi would see him. And Rebecca's response I found really interesting and very carefully worded. She says, quote, they don't assume there is, only that there is this observable movement, end quote.
Yeah.
And my goodness, that is precise Bene Gesserit wording if I've ever heard of it.
Yeah.
Because Rebecca doesn't just hand wave away the rabbi's question about God.
Right.
She isn't like, no, you silly rabbi, there's no God.
Right.
Instead, she says the Bene Gesserit have not found evidence that there is.
Right.
And it reveals this very empirical way of Bene Gesserit thinking.
Yeah.
They have observed this movement, this leveling drift over eons, over thousands, tens of thousands of years of human history. But across those tens of thousands of years of data, they have yet to find empirical evidence that there is something behind the drift. They just know that it does exist.
And I think Rebecca would say that it's not even their interest. They're not seeking God. They are seeking to understand the levers that move people, and the many gods of humanity have been a very effective lever. So that's kind of where they ended up. But the question, like, I'm sure if you asked Odrade, do you believe in God? She'd be like, I don't really think about it. I'm too busy steering humanity.
Totally.
It's not really relevant because if there is one, we haven't seen evidence of him, or them or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think that's another
great point
thing here. The rabbi is, it's the same thing I've seen a lot in conversations between like theistic apologists and atheistic apologists, is this debate around whether or not there's God. And of course, when the theist is saying God, it's a God that they believe in. When the atheist or agnostic hears the word God, we think, which one? Because there are so many options of gods we don't believe in. And so there is this kind of opposition. Rebecca is not thinking about the one God that he's pointing out. She's going, well, yeah, no, in 100,000 years that they haven't seen evidence of any God. So it's just not, they're not thinking about it.
Yeah, we're not.
But I'm sure the rabbi, when he asks that question, he's thinking about the God of the Hebrew faith.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. It's kind of savage if you think about it, It's like, babes, I don't even think about you.
Was that like Scarlet Witch to Thanos? You took everything from me. I don't even know who you are.
I don't even know who you are. Yeah, exactly. It's exactly that vibe.
New phone. Who's this?
Bene Gesserit, savage. I also I found this next bit really interesting. I wanted to call this out because we've been leaning into so much water imagery this entire book. And in order to explain this leveling drift concept to the rabbi further, Rebecca paints this picture of sailors. She uses this like sailors metaphor as they like crest the waters of the ocean or whatever. The Sisterhood has observed that there's this natural drift. You could call it the waves of the oceans of humanity's history. And rather than choosing to swim against the current, Rebecca says that they, quote, seem only to move across it, making it work for them using the back eddies, end quote.
Interesting.
And that I found super, super interesting because, of course, like everything we know about the Bene Gesserit points toward them being the kind of sailor that doesn't bother fighting the current. This is how humanity drifts. And we will find, in between the up and down motion of the waves, we will find our openings and take advantage of those openings to kind of direct the ship where we want to. This is very in line with Bene Gesserit MO from this entire series, using subtlety and subversion rather than rowing as hard as we can against the current to get where we want.
Yeah.
Which, of course, thinking of Heretics of Dune, thinking of Chapterhouse Dune, these last two books, and the larger story at play here with the Honored Matre. The Honored Matre are the kind of people who are yelling cannonball and leaping into the pool, splashing everybody who's at the edges, There's so much collateral pool damage taking place when an Honored Matre cannonball's in there because they're going to go in and try to tame the sea.
Yeah.
That's their MO. That's their way of thinking.
They're eating their garlic beans in the pool and you're like, ew.
Oh my God.
It's getting everywhere.
They're peeing in the pool. Ugh.
They're doing everything in the pool. It's crazy. Well, stepping out of the story, let's take a look at what Frank is maybe getting at with this idea. Because on some level, it certainly explains why the Bene Gesserit operate the way they do. But is there, as there often is, a larger commentary within all of this?
Yeah.
And based on our research, this leveling drift seems to be a concept basically entirely of Frank's own making. We didn't find any obvious, this is where he got that from, or here's a broad conversation that was happening in philosophy at the time or anything like that.
Right.
The closest real world theory we can link it to is the statistical phenomenon called regression toward the mean, or RTM. The Nonprofit Institute for Work and Health defines RTM as, quote, the tendency of results that are extreme by chance on first measurement, that is, extremely higher or lower than average, to move closer to the average when measured a second time. Results subject to regression to the mean are those that can be influenced by an element of chance. When chance or fluke gives rise to extreme scores, it's unlikely those extreme scores will be repeated on a second try. End quote.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, like if you roll a dice, you roll 2 or 3 dice, and you get sixes, all sixes, Yahtzee.
Ooh, yeah.
And you get excited, and you're like, yeah, that's sweet. You roll them again, you are very likely not going to get that same thing again, because if you roll 2 dice over and over and over again, as anyone who's played fucking Settlers of Catan can tell you, 7 is the most often combination of numbers. So it becomes this bell curve. And the more times you roll the dice, the more that bell curve appears in data, because it's a statistical, there's some way to describe that. It's a normal distribution, I think is the word. But in any case, that is what this is about, right? Those sorts of things where chance is involved will very likely kind of regress toward this bell-shaped distribution. Now, why is RTM important? Well, it's kind of a check and balance on reading data incorrectly. Just because your business did fucking astronomically well in quarter 2 does not necessarily mean the same thing will happen in quarter 3, because you can't control or even identify every factor that affects your business, which then basically breaks down to, were you lucky on some level, right? There are market fluctuations, interdependencies, and luck. Again, GameStop will never see that happen again.
Much to my chagrin.
Much to my chagrin. Would love to go to the moon. I've heard that's the easiest way to go to the moon. Another example that you pulled here is Peloton. During the coronavirus pandemic is a great example of this exact thing, right?
Yeah.
The company saw this massive boom during lockdowns when people weren't feeling safe running outside or going to fitness classes, and began operating as if this was the new normal. They were like, oh, sweet.
Okay.
Pandemic forever. Everyone's quarantined until the end of days. This is wonderful.
Look at all this money we're making.
And then the lockdowns lifted and they were like, oh, fuck. People like being outside. Oh, shit. We forgot. Oh, no.
Our $3,000 bikes aren't what people want?
It's unbelievable. I can't imagine why. From a 2023 CNBC article, quote, since reaching a peak intraday share price of $167 in December 2020, Peloton stock has crumbled to $13.60
Holy shit.
a share. End quote.
Brutal.
In case you're wondering, dear listener, because I certainly was, and I stopped recording this episode for a second just to look it up, but Abu got ahead of me and put it in the script. It's not doing better. It's only gotten worse. So that was in 2023. It was to $13.60 a share. It has plummeted further and hasn't cracked $10 a share in years. In fact, right now it's sitting at $3.40 a share.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
That's rough, dog. That seems like leveling drift to me, if ever I've seen it.
Again, that RTM, the regression toward the mean, that is just a way to catch yourself.
Yeah.
And not read data incorrectly. When something extreme happens, either extremely high, like Peloton seeing extremely high sales during the pandemic, or extremely low, the assumption there should be, well, there's a lot of uncontrollable random chance factors at play here. Notably, a once-in-a-lifetime fucking pandemic. We should assume that this will not last forever, and we will start regressing back toward the center of the bell curve, back toward the mean. And so let's continue operating as if the mean is what will happen in the future. Peloton, of course, didn't do that. And leveling, the concept of Frank's leveling drift and the real world concept of regression toward the mean argues that extremes like that are not normal. They're extreme because they are so outside the norm. And thus, when measured again, it's unlikely that they will happen again. And so I thought that was an interesting real world example that kind of helped me process what RTM could mean in real life.
Yeah.
I think bringing it back to Dune, though, it sounds to me like Frank is perhaps applying this general idea of RTM, this statistical phenomenon, to maybe just the larger fabric of human history, right? Across humanity's social and political and economic and even philosophical past, across tens of thousands of years in Dune history, the extremes have always been pushed back toward the center. That is how the Bene Gesserit see the long fabric of human history. And Rebecca even gives this example of a brilliant innovator. She says that while this person, this brilliant genius, might create something new and helpful, quote, the drift catches the innovator, end quote. The implication there being that no outlier, even a person who is an extreme outlier, will escape sort of this like grand equalizing force of humanity. It can be a person, it can be an institution, it can be a source of power. It's unlikely for extremes to continue to happen over and over and over again. There's only ever been one God Emperor.
Right.
And it's unlikely that we're going to see another.
Right.
This is perhaps neither here nor there, but I wanted to share this line because I'm sure folks noticed. Frank drops like all pretense weirdly and takes this moment to like what to me feels like personally just complain about taxes real quick. There's this very weird passage that Rebecca says that feels so out of place in the world of Dune. She says, quote, they, as in the Bene Gesserit, they see taxation as evidence of the drift, taking away free energy that might create more new things. A sensitized person detects it, they say. End quote.
That's crazy. What a crazy.
I had to roll my eyes at that. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
Right?
just suddenly the Bene Gesserit are libertarians. Yeah, they say that fucking taxes are evil. And especially the rich should probably get tax cuts. Totally.
Yeah. It's so funny. It feels out of place. It almost feels like an ad, you know? You're like, wait a second, did I just suddenly come across an ad in the middle of this book?
Yeah.
Which is a real thing that's happening. I don't know if you've seen those tweets of people being like, this Casper mattress ad just came up in the middle of my rom-com book. What the fuck? Like integrated into the story.
Whoa. No way.
Yeah, it's wild. Like some character will be like, oh, I love my Casper mattress. It helps me sleep so much better than the other. Blah, blah,
what
blah.
the fuck? That's a thing?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Oh, I don't like that.
It's wild out there, the literary world.
I mean, I guess it happens in fucking every other storytelling medium.
True. Yeah, books seem to be like the last medium where like intrusive ads don't exist. But
weird.
I got curious because I was like, whoa, what is this random taxes line doing in this book out of nowhere? So I Googled. I was like, Frank Herbert taxes? And interestingly enough, Frank did have some financial issues throughout his life, but certainly at the time he was writing this book. Apparently, after Beverly's death in 1984, his son Brian Herbert came in and took over some of the bookkeeping and managerial stuff that Beverly used to help Frank with. And this is when he discovered that his father had accumulated a lot of debt, much of it to the IRS. And so it sounds like Frank owed a lot of like back taxes and stuff at this time in his life. And maybe it was just on his mind. Yeah.
I mean, he went from being I imagine a pretty like paycheck to paycheck writer, doing speeches and, odd ends here and there, to being a like international best-selling author with like movie deals and stuff.
Yeah.
Mismanaging those funds, especially while grieving after like the love of your life dies.
Yeah. And while the IRS hounds your every step.
Yeah. All of that is so interesting. Okay. Taking a step back, Abu.
Yeah.
Do you agree with the Bene Gesserit? Are you a libertarian? Do you hate taxes, especially on rich people, and think they should all get tax cuts? Or no, do you think that there is some kind of grand cosmic drift that kind of sands down the edges of humanity, pushing the extremes back to the center average, back to the bell curve?
Interesting. I will say before I answer that question, I lean way too socialist to hate taxes. So I certainly don't agree with that. But as I was doing my research, I was like, oh my gosh, leveling drift. This is cool. Maybe I'm going to learn some new philosophy that Frank was really diving into.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I didn't, I didn't find any research that backed up Frank's / Rebecca's assertion of the leveling drift, this belief that human history itself tends to push toward the middle. And in fact, I found a lot of theories that point more toward human history being cyclical in its trends rather than statistically average.
Interesting.
There's a couple of theories I wanted to call out, for example. So for one, I found a theory called punctuated equilibrium, which is this evolutionary theory about how species experience these long periods of unchanging stasis, followed by dramatic and sudden change. So the theory itself is about like evolution.
Yeah, of course. Like the Cambrian explosion was an example of PunkyQ, right?
But social scientists have taken this theory and sort of applied it to the wider institution of human history and political institutions and societies across human history. This idea that there will be long periods of stasis followed by dramatic changes, dramatic and sudden changes, and then another long period of stasis. And that cycle continues throughout history. That's one theory called punctuated equilibrium, which I think is suggesting that leveling drift is not a thing. Another field of research that I found is known as cliodynamics, I think. Cliodynamics. And what this field of research tries to do is to apply mathematical and statistical models to human history to try and identify trends and patterns. And ultimately, cliodynamics theorizes that human societies go through these orderly cycles of growth and then crisis, then decay, then back to growth, then crisis, then decay. And if you kind of zoom out across human history, you'll just kind of see that cycle happen over and over again. I think zooming out, I don't personally find much merit in Frank's idea of leveling drift as applied to humanity. And honestly, I found this like sort of explanation by Rebecca interesting as merely a glimpse into Bene Gesserit thinking and worldview. It explains how the Bene Gesserit operate and why they operate the way they do. I don't know that it necessarily applies beyond a Bene Gesserit worldview. And ultimately, like, I think the weird taxes line, the bit about the innovator, which I don't know, kind of seems to be a bit about Frank himself. It kind of gives me this like old man yelling at the sky energy rather than like an extremely well thought out philosophical and statistical idea that Frank maybe did a bunch of research on. But
Sure,
I don't know.
yeah.
That's my takeaway. That's what I found in my research. But ultimately, no, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't believe in the leveling drift theory that Rebecca is laying out here.
Sure.
What about you?
Yeah, it's an interesting thought. I think when I was reading this idea of leveling drift, I was thinking about how so much of this book has been about Bene Gesserit conservatism and this thing that like Bolanda represents, right? This like, let's return to the archives. Let's look back on how we've always done it. And that's an attitude that's going to slow down progress and tamp down outliers and brilliant innovators, right? Like people like Sheeana and Odrade, who are so unlike the average Bene Gesserit, are much more the chaotic energy innovator that is clearly not part of this leveling drift, right?
Yeah.
I also can't help but think about that Japanese saying, quote, the nail that sticks out gets hammered down, end quote. That idea of extreme outliers kind of being targeted by other forces. I also think that like, you know, there is a broad pattern probably of like, we as a species, humans as a species, first and foremost, deep down, want a form of comfort and security for today and tomorrow, right? And this kind of like immediate now. And I think that is in ways antithetical to the kind of bleeding edge of progress and innovation. It's only when you have your food and your shelter, those needs met, unless you're acting via desperation. It's only when you have those needs met that you look to the horizon and you go, maybe there's an island out there and I'm going to go find it. You know, I think that is another force that maybe exists on a very big scale. So maybe what the Bene Gesserit are talking about with this leveling drift is you might have innovators who push humanity forward into this uncharted territory, but then you're in this uncharted territory with unknown threats. You're out in the fucking scattering and there are sentient tree houses and face dancers with futars and all sorts of crazy shit. What do you want but the comfort of the original Imperium? And we see that kind of ebb and flow of innovation, explosion outward, and then pulling back a little bit, the tide flowing out and in.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I landed. I was like, yeah, maybe maybe it's kind of like an evolutionary impulse to seek out comfort as like a first step toward whatever else we do. But I kind of got the same impression that you did, where like, I feel like there's a book that Frank read, like just a book that he read in like 1983. And it was about this idea of, maybe it was statistics, and maybe it was like, punctuated equilibrium, or maybe it was the return to the mean. But I feel like he read a book and was like, yeah, like, yeah, that's great. And then put it in this. Like, I feel like he's done that before. So I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if there was some dusty tome that's hard to find online, but that did exist on his library bookshelf that said, here's how humanity has always been kind of whittled down to return to this mean.
Right.
Would not surprise me at all.
Right. Like a one-off theory he read somewhere that stuck in his brain.
Yeah.
And he introduced it into the story for sure.
Yeah.
That's happened many times before in the Dune books.
Yeah. As we've done our research, it's like, oh, he like read like this book on like no theater. And then now suddenly there's like 7 metaphors about no plays.
Yeah. That's a good point.
In any case, I kind of vibe with it, but yeah, definitely the taxes line feels much more like he's on his soapbox again going, us innovators always get beaten down, and look at me and Bev were brilliant, and we had these boring ass children. And now I've got all this tax debt. Society sucks,
Yeah. It's interesting nonetheless, not all of Frank Herbert's ideas were home runs.
Yeah.
He was not a perfect author and a perfect storyteller. So it's always fun to sort of take our time with these takeaways, with things that, we don't ultimately vibe with, but are interesting thought experiments nonetheless.
Well, that is our takeaway today. And we have some spiced morsels for you, dear listeners. But before we get to those, we're going to take one final quick break. So don't go anywhere. When we're back, we're serving up a plate of big old spice morsels. One of them's going to leave a bad taste in your mouth for sure, but it's hot and ready.
Welcome back, folks. Let's round out today's episode, as we like to do, by chomping down on a pair of spice morsels. Let's start with our first morsel today, minyan. So in today's reading, a distressed rabbi laments to Rebecca, quote, "I am fearful for you, for us, for all of the things we represent. We have been true for so many generations, and we don't even have a minyan here," end quote. Now, I personally wasn't familiar with the term minyan, so I decided to dig into it.
Nice.
And so, for folks like me who are wondering what that's all about, here's what I learned from my research and how it ties back into this story. MyJewishLearning.com defines minyan as a, quote, Hebrew word that describes the quorum of 10 Jewish adults required for certain religious obligations, end quote.
Interesting. Okay.
And the article actually goes on and explains that, quote, one can always say one's prayers by oneself at any time or place, but praying with others brings a sense of connection and closeness and can strengthen the collective to focus on their prayers more deeply. By requiring a minyan for many fundamental rituals, Judaism encourages communal cohesion, end quote.
Oh, interesting.
Which I thought was really interesting and actually very sweet.
That's cool. Really strengthens community to require certain ceremonies to have at least 10 people present. That's cool.
Yeah. Now, speaking of those certain ceremonies, from my research, I found a couple of examples. Some of these rituals that require a minyan, for example, include the 7 wedding blessings, the reciting of the priestly blessing, and saying the prayer for escaping a dangerous situation, which in particular feels like a prayer that the rabbi desperately would want a minyan for.
Yeah, that sounds about right. They are hiding in a cellar. Yeah.
Now, for my research, I learned that there's a couple of different theories for why the number 10 precisely was chosen for a minyan. The first theory is the story of Noah, where 8 people was not enough to save the world from destruction, the story of Noah's Ark. Then the other story is the one of Sodom and Gomorrah, where Abraham couldn't find 10 righteous people, so God destroyed those cities.
Yeah.
So 10 perhaps is the correct number of people for a religious ceremony or prayer like that.
I love some Old Testament sources. Hell yeah.
I know, right?
I thought it was just because we got 10 fingers. Like that's a big number for us because we got 10 fingers. 10
yeah,
toes.
I mean, like 10 could be from anywhere. There's a couple other theories too. Now, bringing it back to Dune to wrap up this morsel, I think having this knowledge of what a minyan is adds a bit of interesting context to today's reading.
Mm.
The rabbi is clearly expressing here to Rebecca how he is feeling disconnected and afraid in their isolation as they hide in this like node chamber underneath Gamu.
Yeah.
He's expressing how he's sad that there aren't even 10 adults here with them. There's not enough people to perform these rituals that I suspect over a lifetime of following this faith are a source of deep comfort for the rabbi.
Yeah.
And here he is finding himself in a very difficult situation, unable to tap into that source of comfort because there are not enough adults.
Oh, great point.
Also, just the fact that there's not 10 Jewish adults hiding with them. Like, gosh, this node chamber is smaller than I perhaps was imagining.
Yeah. I knew there were a few people, but I didn't know how many. That's so interesting because that's absolutely a dimension of it that I would not have thought of.
Yeah.
You know, like I think as not part of that faith, I'm thinking, hey, you're safe. You've presumably got some food for a little while. You're good, chill, sweet. But he's thinking about all the things they can't do.
Yeah.
Because of not having enough people. And okay, let's say you get out of there safe. If this is all who gets away, you still can't perform certain prayers. You can't perform certain pieces of your faith because you don't have enough people. Like that's really fascinating. Wow.
Yeah. It makes the rabbi a bit more of a sympathetic character.
Yeah. Interesting.
Because it's clear, I think, that this loss of community, this loss of cohesion is hitting the rabbi really, really hard. And he's having a hard time dealing with it, which I thought was an interesting contrast to Rebecca, who has seemingly found a new community within her other memories.
Right.
She brushes aside a lot of the rabbi's concerns because she's like, it's fine, it's chill. This is the Bene Gesserit do this and they do that. That's what my community does. So the contrast there, I thought, was interesting and perhaps intentional.
Wow. Yeah.
My last thought here, and this is maybe a throwaway thought, but I wanted to include it. It feels perhaps intentional that this chapter is actually situated right after the convocation, when we see another community come together around Odrade. And we get all of these melancholic thoughts from Odrade, right? She is sad and fearful over the potential loss of her sisters, of her community, of her rituals.
Man, good on Frank. That's a fun bit of, I didn't know that about Jewish culture and the Jewish faith.
Yeah,
That's cool.
Me neither. Yeah.
Well, we've got a second morsel for you, and this one is on potash or potash. Not sure how to say it. In today's reading, Odrade is thinking about Chapterhouse's evolution to a desert planet and what this will mean for water practices on the surface. Quote, many changes, including return to Fremen mortuary practices, bodies rendered for water and potash. End quote. And I'm like, yo, I heard of water. I know what water is. Pop quiz me right now. H2O. Made of it, mostly. Hell yeah. What the fuck is potash? I've never heard of that second thing. Now, I also, beyond the curiosity about the material itself, I found it interesting that this is being introduced in the 11th hour, that the Fremen did this. So I wanted to take a look at potash and what we could learn. And starting basically, what the fuck is it? From the very easy to trust source, naturalresources.canada.ca, potash is a group of minerals and chemicals primarily used to produce fertilizer. So useful for an ecologically oriented culture like the Fremen.
Yeah.
Now, Canada, fun fact, produces about a third of the potash in the world, followed by Russia and obviously Belarus. Shout out to Belarus for making the top 3 list. I feel like that doesn't happen very often.
Shots fired at Belarus.
I'm just saying statistically, they are not an outlier. I'm just happy for them. They're on the podium, How often does that happen? I don't think often. Okay, name another time, sure. Abu. Go ahead.
I can't. It's fair. It's your point stands. I can't think of a top 3 thing Belarus does in the moment.
What is Belarus great at? natural landscapes, well-maintained parks and gardens, architectural sites, and rich culture. That very few.
Okay, I mean, that's a little generic, Belarus. Like, you could come up with something a little more specific.
The title of that webpage is Why Everyone Should Visit Belarus.
Okay, those three things, those three very generic things.
Sounds a little biased.
I am personally going to visit for the potash production.
Yeah, same. Again, number 3 in the world. Shout out Belarus on the podium. Now, there are lots of ways of creating potash, from mining ore in evaporated inland oceans to burning kelp, but I couldn't find anything about rendering human bodies. But I wanted to look into it because, again, it's like, okay, so you have this idea of fertilizer, maybe humans as fertilizer, sure. I couldn't find any science indicating that human bodies today could be rendered for potash. You know, even in places like Tibet, which has pretty like rough terrain, they do sky burials, you know, returning the body to nature, but that's not quite the same, right?
Wow, the FBI is going to be on your ass after all this researching.
How to dispose of a human body quickly. Also growing vegetables. They're like, oh no, he's a vegetarian and a murderer.
2 huge crimes, honestly.
The worst combination. Now, this does refer to compounds of potassium and potassium-bearing materials. Fun fact, potassium comes from the word potash.
No way. Oh my gosh.
Which is crazy. And potash is a compound word of pot ash, because one of the ways that potash was initially created was getting the ash from the bottom of pots after burning certain things like kelp.
Yeah, language is crazy.
Language is crazy. And as it turns out, human bodies, of course, do contain some potassium. So I could see some, you know, we're talking 30,000 years from now, maybe the Fremen cracked the code. They figured out how to get the potassium from human bodies to make potash. Now, I've got some bad news, though.
Oh,
because I was curious. I was like, let me do the math. How much fucking potassium does a human body have? National Institutes of Health sweeping in. Again, these fucking FBI agents checking my search logs are getting very curious.
For real.
Quote, the total amount of potassium in the adult body is about 45 millimole per kilogram body weight. So it's about 140 grams for a 175-pound adult, which is not a lot. That's not a lot. For context, I went to house.com, and one user recommended you got a 60 square foot plant bed. You need about half a cup of potash to fertilize that 60 square foot plant bed.
Okay.
Which is about 300 grams of potash.
Oh, okay.
So you got to desiccate and like render 2 human bodies for your small plant bed. I feel like Frank didn't do that math, because that doesn't work very well.
Yeah.
You're best off just grabbing some bananas, honestly. I mean, just go for
so much potassium.
Other ways to do it, you know? And there you have it. So potash, I think it does make sense to say, you know, we're seeking these ways to fertilize the soils of Arrakis. The Fremen, of course, had to grow their occasional plants in their kenats and their various, you know, irrigated gardens. But it does seem like this is one of those instances where the math doesn't necessarily check out. So I think we maybe leave it there. Potash is a way of fertilizing, mostly potassium based chemicals and compounds, but probably not possible from human bodies, unfortunately.
Yeah. Wow. I appreciate you doing that research and doing that very specific Googling.
Yeah. Again, FBI agent in charge of my record has a big report to write up today, probably.
Yeah. He's like, I think this is all for a Dune podcast, but I'm going to investigate further.
I don't know. It didn't show up in the first 5 books, and I haven't read the 6th one yet, so probably not.
The FBI agent's like, I haven't started Chapterhouse yet. Fuck.
Oh, no. I hope they have a book club.
Well, we do, FBI. We do.
We do.
All right, folks. That wraps up today's episode of Chapterhouse Dune.
Indeed.
My goodness, we are so close to the end of this book. I can't wait to see where it goes next. And speaking of where it goes next, here is your assignment for the next episode. Make sure that you have read the next 3 chapters. That's 40, 41, and 42 for the next book club episode. Of course, if your copy of the book is slightly different from ours, then read through the chapter that ends on this sentence. Quote, "They have a weapon we have not discovered. End quote.
My God. It's potash. They're going to fertilize all of our fields.
Oh my God, it'll take so many bodies.
So many bodies. I mean, it's okay. There's a lot of bodies in this war. For sure. Well, before we let you go, dear listener, we want to remind you of some ways to support us and keep this show running. And the two best ways. One is to become a patron over at patreon.com/GomJabar. 2, get yourself some Dune-themed swag from gomjabar.shop. Those links are in the show notes both ways. Absolutely appreciated and a spectacular way to keep what we do here going.
That's right. And of course, we love to hear from you. Email us, gomjabarpodcast@gmail.com. Send us your thoughts. Send us your questions. Send us cute pictures of your pets. Once we wrap up this book, folks, we will have a big Q&A.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have questions and observations that you want us to share in that episode, hit us up, email us. The earlier you email us, the earlier we see it, and the better chance that we have time to include it.
Yeah. Tell us how big your flower bed is and how many bodies you would need to fertilize it. Yeah. Let's all get on that list. I'm on the list now. Join me on the list. It's great here.
Join that FBI list.
The water's great.
Yeah.
Come on in. We're eating garlic and beans in the water. It's great.
Yes. How many bodies would it take to fertilize your gardens? Let us know.
Send us a number. It's either now if we get a number email, it's going to be either breadsticks at Olive Garden or bodies to fertilize the garden bed.
That's right. We'll have to guess. Does he mean 6 bodies for his garden or 6 breadsticks?
Unimpressive breadsticks. Ambitious number
6
of
is
bodies.
A lot, bro.
It's not. It's really.
Is there Olive Garden in France? I'll come visit you in France, and we need to hit up some Olive Garden.
Okay, next time we're in the same continent, we'll go to Olive Garden together.
Okay,
and I'll show you
6
down. I mean, easy before the soup arrives.
Jesus. Okay. All right. Look, I don't doubt it. I'm just impressed.
I'm a big boy. I'll put down this thing.
You're tall. You are very tall.
A lot of room for breadsticks. Well, friends, there is no real ending. It's just the place where we stop the recording. But this podcast is always one step beyond logic, so help spread the word of Muad'Dib and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And be sure to check out the other shows on the Lord Party Podcast Network on loreparty.com. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at lore_party. We're also on YouTube. What? Thank you so much for listening. And remember, whoever controls the podcast controls the universe. We'll see you on the golden path.